DNVR Broncos podcast coming to you live from Studio A here at the DNVR Bar. And today the A stands for absurd, as in the Denver Broncos have sold for an absurd amount of money. And we're here to tell you all about it today. Should be an interesting conversation about the future of this team. But first, a shout out to our presenting sponsor, DraftKings Sportsbook, where the Colorado Avalanche are minus 200 favorites to win the Stanley Cup. DraftKings doesn't care who it is. They're just saying, yeah, the Avs are 1-2. You're going to have to bet 200 if you want to win any $100 on the Avs.
Hope you got in early. And when I mean early, I mean a long time ago.
I think I gave this out as a pick of the week on this show. If not, I've talked about it several times on our bet show. But when it was plus 650, I gave out, don't bet on the Avs to win the Stanley Cup. Bet on Cale Makar to win the Conn Smythe. Much better odds. Cale, now to win the Conn Smythe, plus 170.
What's McKinnon?
Plus 180.
Oh, wow. He's the favorite.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. I mean, a 5-point game and a closeout game.
That'll help.
Well, will help for sure. And obviously, the Connor McDavid erasure that he put out there was definitely caught the eyes of the national media as well.
He didn't show up, did he?
Well, no, he did. But then Cale Makar just erased it. Anyways, get over to DraftKings Sportsbook, where you can also bet $1 on any NBA Finals game. I guess they're finally playing another one tonight. And you can get $150 in free bets just for playing. You don't even have to win. Or I guess it's $5. Bet a $5 bet on either team on the money line. Get $150 for playing. Great deal. Great way to get your account started over there at DraftKings Sportsbook. So check it out. And you can also get a sign-up bonus up to $1,000 when you use the code DNVR. All right.
The Broncos have a new owner, baby.
They do. And what a shocker. No, not a shocker at all. Ever since we saw who was in the running, and as I said last night, as predicted by anyone who can Google net worths, we knew who the Broncos owner was going to be as long as he wanted the team. And I guess the great news here is he really wanted the team.
He really wanted the team, right?
Should I be saying they, or can I just go with he?
It's a he, okay. honestly. And Ryan, the reason it's a he is because of a report that just came out from Pro Football Talk that said Josh Harris's group, who is the group that's involved with a lot of sports teams in the world, he would have paid $5 billion for the Broncos if it would have guaranteed him to get the bid. But what he was afraid of was Rob Walton was just going to pay more and pay more and pay more and pay more until it was his. And so how can Rob Walton do that? $55 billion to $70 billion will do that. And Ryan, that is why, since Rob Walton entered the race, we have said this is Rob Walton's team.
Yeah, and that's the weirdest thing is like, again, we went through this whole thing where, like, even yesterday we got Mike Close out here. I'm hearing the bidding is very competitive. No, it isn't. It's not possible for it to be competitive. Imagine if you and I were in a race and I was 10 times faster than you.
Right.
No one would say, well, it's a competitive race, you know. Or if, you know, we were doing a lifting competition and I was 10 times stronger than you. Like, there's no world in which this was a competition. And the competition is finally over. We don't have to pretend like other people have a chance anymore. And, you know, there's one thing that is absolutely exciting about this. And it is that the Denver Broncos are now the richest team in the NFL.
Dollar bills.
By miles.
Yep.
And I say miles as in, like, if you were to stack $100 bills, how much richer Rob Walton is, it would go miles into the sky.
Okay, so do some quick mental math. How many miles would $70 billion go?
Well,
that's too hard for me.
That would be 700,000 feet.
Or would it be... No, because, yes, you're right. 700,000
700,000 feet divided by 5280.
Here we go. We got our math. Cale's doing it.
132 miles into the sky.
Now, how far does that get you?
I don't know, you know. I have no idea.
It gets you into space.
I have no idea how tall the atmosphere is.
And that's $100 bills.
Yep.
Insane.
If you were to do $1 bills.
Oh my gosh. Multiply it by 10.
Yeah.
Or 100.
Yeah, exactly. So
that would be 1,300 or 13,000
miles.
Oh
That's
my
got to be the
goodness.
moon.
Now do pennies.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the exciting part about this. And as I've said time and time again, there's no real way of predicting what an owner is going to be. It just comes down to like how he feels whenever he wakes up. Like that's legitimately what it comes down to. Like, does Rob Walton wake up in the morning and think like, man, I hope my football team's good? Or does he just not think about it at all? There's both owners exist in this world. And so we have no way of predicting it. We can read into statements, this, that, and the other thing. There's just no way. But one thing we know is that there will never, ever, ever arise a situation where the Denver Broncos can't afford something.
Nope.
And it kind of makes our job easier because we don't have to guess ever. You know what I mean? Like this weird transition period, which by the way has been the entirety of this podcast.
Whew.
Denver Broncos have never had a true owner since we started podcasting.
Man.
We never knew like what their money situation is. Remember, I mean, we were told at the combine one time that like the receivers coach wanted some sort of contraption and like the Broncos wouldn't buy it for him, and I got pushed back on that from the Broncos. But there was like a lot of weird money issues that we just weren't sure. We're like, could the Broncos afford to give a quarterback $200 million guaranteed and put that in escrow? We have no idea. Now we do have an idea. That can never be an excuse for anything ever. And in fact, I'm of the belief the salary cap can never be an excuse for anything ever, unless you want to do this spin thing where it's like, oh, we're doing the win from now on, so we don't want to put ourselves in cap hell later. But for the most part, the Broncos can afford anything and everything they want forever.
You know how you avoid the salary cap, though, and manipulate the hell out of it is you have a ton of cash up front to give people signing bonuses to lower their cap amount. And the Broncos, Ryan, with Russell Wilson, they should be in that mode the next decade. And they're going to need a lot of cash to do that, but not just, $5 million for a safety, $10 million for a tackle. They're going to need, like you said, $250 million for Russell Wilson as the starting point. And then you add the free agents and the cash just goes up from there. So this does affect the football field, Ryan, and that is a big thing. And a lot of people yesterday say, the money doesn't matter how wealthy an owner is because it's all about the salary cap. No, it absolutely matters when it comes to football. It also matters about a new stadium. And the Broncos and Rob Walton is now going to have to decide if he wants to dump hundreds of millions of dollars into Empower Field at Mile High, or if he wants to build a new city in the city limits of Denver, probably out by the airport, and make it just an entertainment center for the world. Be right next to DIA, have it be an awesome stadium with a roof, maybe a retractable roof, and then you're hosting Super Bowls here. You're getting the NFL draft here. You're doing anything you want. You're getting the biggest concerts in the world as well, and you're making this the biggest thing. Walmart is huge. That's what he's going to make this, is the biggest thing in the country.
Yeah, and I hate it. I don't think we need a new stadium. I've seen a lot of people who are like excited about it. I'm generalizing, but I just feel like those people probably aren't from Denver.
Well, I've accepted it. That it's just going to happen.
I have too, but I'll still push back on it. I have a platform. I'm going to tell Rob Walton, don't move the team out of downtown Denver. It's one of my favorite things about this city is all four teams right in downtown. And you don't realize how cool that is until you go to a place like Kansas City, where it's like you got to drive out into the middle of nowhere. It's not that far, but you're so disconnected. There's nowhere to go after the game. Right. Now, of course, this whole plan comes together. There's going to be a huge entertainment center, and there'll be bars and stuff. But Henry had a great point in the Madden chat the other day where someone was like, if the taxpayers had to pay for the stadium, but it stays in Denver, would you guys want that? And Henry said, yeah, it'll probably save me money because I won't have to spend as much money on Ubers every other week. That's a legitimate point. From here to the airport on a regular day is like a $50 Uber. If it's a Broncos game day, it's going to be $100 Uber, and it'd probably be like $150 on your taxes to help build the new stadium. So
yep.
I thought that was a great point. But you're right, it's happening. Someone like Rob Walton doesn't buy the Broncos without a plan, and I'm sure his plan is not only am I getting the Broncos, I'm getting Waltonville. In just east of Denver. It'll still be considered Denver in the city limits, and it will be like you said, it's a whole new city that's going to arise around that, and he's going to own all the land, and that's how you make your fortune grow. Not to mention bringing the Super Bowl here, bringing a Final Four here, bringing the biggest conventions and concerts and all that stuff here. That's where the money part comes into this, and then hopefully he just says and I want to have a better team than Stan.
Yep. And Stan just won the Super Bowl, so you'd absolutely love that. And a reason why it could be privately funded, Ryan, is because that's what Stan Kroenke did. And then also, if it's this huge complex, then he gets all the revenue and doesn't have to worry about sharing it with Denver and making stipulations for that to happen. So I think there is legitimate reason to believe that it will be privately funded.
Unless he just is doing it because he can, there's legitimately no reason for him to privately fund it or to not privately fund it. It'll barely make a dent in his wealth, and it's not like he's going to pay for the entire thing out of pocket. He has an ownership group. There'll probably be an additional stadium group that does that. They'll develop all the land, all that stuff. So I guess it's kind of exciting just to think about what that could look like. I just think it's an L for us. At least
I agree.
At least football is the one where it's 8 games,
Right.
Hopefully 10 with 2 hosted playoff games, but it's 8 games, and so traveling out there isn't that big of a deal. It's a long ways away, but I think of little things just like right now, you come straight from the stadium to here for our post game show,
right?
That wouldn't be possible anymore.
It's true.
So little things like that, I'm just oh, that really sucks. But it's a short trip on the relative scale of, okay, I'm going to do this 8 to 10 times a year.
Right. It's very true. And a couple people in the comment section, specifically one a little higher up, says, great. Now the NFL is going to call us the Denver Broncos or the Walmart Denver Broncos. And to me, when it comes down to an owner, you have to have cash, Ryan. Cash is king, and in the NFL and in sports and in business, and the Broncos now have so much money. We've said this before, but have to reiterate it now that it's official. Rob Walton, at the lowest, is worth $55 billion. At the most, he's worth about $70 billion. I think the most recent Forbes one had him at $65 million. Billion, yes, billion. The second most richest owner in the NFL, David Tepper, $16.7 billion. Rob Walton blows these guys out of the universe. And there used to be kind of a nice 1, 2, 3 with David Tepper at 16. Then you had Stan kind of right below him.
10. And
then you had Jerry Jones kind of right there. And then everyone else was worth less than $10 billion. Now you have pretty much $50 billion in cash, and we know how tall that is. Yeah. It's separating those guys, or specifically Rob Walton, from the rest of the pack. It is just, you can't wrap your mind around it.
Yeah, and so trying to dunk on the Broncos for having so much more money than your team is just a weird thing to try to do.
Yeah, so okay, yeah, sure, they're the Walmart Broncos. It's not the discount Walmart. It's the opposite.
Right. Yeah, it's PBR in China is considered a delicacy.
No way.
But it's a different style. It's the same brand, but just a much higher scale. So it's the Broncos are a delicacy.
Wow.
Also, I keep hearing about Walmart Stadium. That makes no sense to me, because first of all, Walmart certainly doesn't need any more brand recognition.
Nope.
They could maybe use some brand enhancements in terms of the way it's viewed in the public eye, but you sell the naming rights of the stadium to have more money. So you don't want to be paying yourself for the stadium rights. If he was going to make it about himself, he would just call it Walton Stadium, and he's totally within his rights to do that, and he has plenty of money, so he could do that. But he wouldn't call it Walmart Stadium because that doesn't do anything for him. If he's selling the naming rights, you're selling it to a company to take their money.
Yep, exactly. So do you think it'll still be in Power Field? Obviously, for this year, it's going to be. But is that something that Rob Walton says, okay, this is a $10 million deal per year. I don't want the Kansas City Chiefs like secondary sponsor on my stadium. I don't want a team that works with the New England Patriots on my stadium. And plus, my naming rights are going to be worth about $25-30 billion when this new stadium comes up.
If it's a new stadium, 0% chance that Empower will be on it. Thank God. But right for now, I mean, I would love if he came in and he's like, get rid of this. He's like, look, until I build my new stadium, we're calling this Pat Bowlen Field at Mile High.
And that's something I guarantee he won't do. He's not going to put another man's name on the stadium. But Ryan, yesterday we talked about, or I guess it was 2 days ago, we talked about if Rob Walton wants to really just steal the hearts of Broncos country, 2 things he needs to do. Peyton Manning, hire him right away. Don't remember the second thing. What did we say?
Talk about Pat Bowlen.
Yes, yeah, potentially that. And then also, if he wants to, just come in and say, Mile High Stadium. That's what it is going to be. I mean, come on, Rob Walton would be just the favorite.
Yep, absolutely. And make sure
the second one was pay Russell Wilson.
Oh, right.
Yep.
Bring in Peyton Manning, pay Russell Wilson. And there's a couple more things, I think, like you said, call it Mile High Stadium. That's a huge dub. And then also... what was I going to say? Oh, no, I just lost my train of thought.
We both did.
Oh, new uniforms. Get them right.
I was going to say, though, that could go the wrong way.
Yep. It's kind of rare that fan bases embrace a new uniform right off the bat. So my advice is go back as much as you can because everyone likes when the uniform looks like what it used to look like, even if it's an updated version of that. But, like, look at the Buccaneers. They just went back to their old uniforms, and everyone, fell all over themselves.
True.
So the Browns did the same thing. They kind of went backwards. So you don't have to
really going backwards as a team.
That could end up being the worst move in sports history.
Yep. That without a doubt, not only trading your entire future, but also $250 million.
And there's probably a chance they get out of the money. I would guess. But
some of it.
Yeah.
There's a chance they have to settle for Deshaun Watson playing 0 games and paying him like $100 million.
So check this out. Deshaun Watson starts 0 games for the Browns. It's in the cards. Baker Mayfield says, don't come crying to me.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't play for them.
Nope.
They go right back where they came from. By the way, who brought them out of that place? Baker Mayfield. They go right back where they came from, and they have no first-round picks.
Forever.
So deserved.
Oh my gosh, it is. So, the great thing is no one feels bad for them.
Nope.
It's like, yeah, you did this. You pooped the bed, now you got to lay in it yourself,
yes.
Browns.
Yes, you do. Putting the Brown and Browns. Anyways, back to the Broncos. There's a lot of things that I think that they can do right, and I think one of the first things that they did right was bringing in Melody Hobson and adding her to the team. What an absolute rock star she is. Obviously, you love to see the diversity, not just with a person of color, but also a woman being part of this group. I think that's really cool. She is like an icon in the business world.
She's done everything in the business world.
Yeah, as I said last night, imagine being such a badass that your title takes up 3 lines of a tweet. And now someone responded to me and they're like, well, now it takes 4 because you have to add part owner of the Denver Broncos. So that's like a really good, what'd you say earlier? Or maybe I just saw this on Twitter, I can't remember, but like just hire the right people and get out of the way.
Right.
And obviously she's not going to be dedicating all of her time to the Denver Broncos, but it's a great step in the idea of like bring in really smart people and trust them. And we know that the Broncos already have a really smart GM. And you hope to just continue that, maybe you bring in a president, Peyton Manning, and then you get out of the way, like hire incredible people and let them do their jobs incredibly, and you're going to be successful. And it's one of the things that I think Pat Bowlen did a great job of. And I just think it showed like a little bit of a step in the right direction in terms of the way we view Rob Walton's ego, that he just bought the team. And in his initial statement, he wanted to add the fact that they were bringing in Melody Hobson in there. And I thought that was like, okay, regardless, even if it's just a PR thing, which we know there's a little bit of, there's a little bit of that in everything. But it would have been easy for a $70 billion man to say, this is about me. I just bought the Broncos. I'm not mentioning anyone else. We'll do a follow-up press release tomorrow about who we're bringing in. No, I think it showed some awareness to say, like, it's not just about me. This is about the Broncos, the city, and the team that I'm bringing in with me.
Absolutely, and it's a big thing that Melody Hobson was mentioned in that, because 3 people were mentioned, and we're going to talk about, or 4 people were mentioned. Rob Walton, and we're going to talk about the other 2, and Melody Hobson shows you just how big of a role she can potentially have with the Broncos, and the Broncos nailed it. With bringing her on board. Just an absolute rock star, like you said, Ryan. And I want to break down the other 2 people, because we already have an idea of what this situation is going to look like, how the Broncos are going to be run. And there's some really, really, really encouraging news in my mind about probably the biggest question mark with Rob Walton. But first, got to tell you about our friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook, where, like Ryan said earlier, you bet $5 on money line NBA Finals game, you get $150 in free bets. And DraftKings is kind of setting you up great for the Avs, because they're saying, okay, you're going to have mini finals games before the Avs actually start the Stanley Cup Finals. So just get in on one of these games, get $150 in your account, and then use that on the Avs. But when you use it on the Avs, you're going to have to be creative, because like Ryan said earlier, the Avs are minus 200. That's not great value by any means. So you got to find the things, and you know where a great place to find those great values is?
DraftKings Sportsbook.
And the DNVR Bet Show. You got to check the Bet Show out to then bet over at DraftKings.
See what you did there, saying
Sportsbook.
Great values.
Yes. That's very intentional, of course. And you can get some great values over at DraftKings Sportsbook, because they hand out free money. Not only this free money, but Ryan, they're going to have, I can guarantee, they're going to have boosts on the NBA Finals game tonight. They're going to have so many boosts going through the Avs Stanley Cup Finals. So get in, download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now, and use promo code DNVR when you sign up to get $150 in free bets by betting $5 on Moneyline in the NBA Finals. That is code DNVR over at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, Colorado only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
Also, make sure you come down to the DNVR bar. Win these 2 other teams finally stop, slap fighting and get to the real thing here. We'll be waiting for them right here at the DNVR bar. And we had a meeting yesterday just about, what we're going to try to do for the Stanley Cup final, and all the different ways that we're going to try and step our game up, as the Avs have stepped their game up, and it's going to be so exciting. So make sure you come down here and come hang out. And, of course, while you're here, get you some Breck brews, the best damn beers around. Strawberry Sky season in full swing, but in a twist, Avalanche Amber Ale season not over yet.
Wild.
So, whatever floats your boat, make sure you get some of those Breckenridge brews. I'm going up to an annual golf tournament with my buddies this weekend. I'll definitely be bringing the Breck brews.
I was going to say, is it an annual golf tournament, or is it an annual Breck brew tournament with a little bit of golf in there?
Yeah, both. Yeah, definitely both.
Man, that sounds amazing. I'm jealous of that. Okay, Ryan, so when we look at the structure of the Broncos right now, you have Rob Walton at the top, and what they're calling this is the Walton-Penner family group.
Yeah.
Sure, you can call it that.
Please explain to me.
It's Rob Walton. So Rob Walton at the top, like we explained, just all the money in the world. But then the step below, and it's very clear which kids are going to take this
Told
over. Yes, Carrie Walton Penner. So that is Rob Walton's daughter. She's 51 years old. Then her husband, Greg Penner. So that's where the Penner name
Right.
comes in. So Greg Penner is the son-in-law of Rob Walton. His wife is Rob Walton's daughter. So those two, and also Greg Penner now is the chairman of Walmart. Of course, Rob Walton was the chairman of Walmart for so many decades. So you see how this all fits together. And then the other person mentioned in the press release, was Hobson, like we talked about. So those are the 4 people mentioned in there. But what's going to happen with the day-to-day operations with the Broncos is it's going to be Kerry Walton Penner and Greg Penner running the team.
Very interesting.
Very interesting. And to me, Rob Walton has already put his trust and his will together.
Yeah.
The team is going to stay with Kerry Walton Penner and Greg Penner. They would be, if they were technically the owners, they'd be the youngest owners in the NFL, which I think is something that scared a lot of people with Rob Walton saying, he's 77 years old. Even if he lives another 20 years, then we're just going to have to go through this, in 10 years once he hands the team down or it's put in a trust. And that is something that scared Broncos fans, understandably so, because of what we've been through. And a great point by you, we have not had an owner when we've been doing this podcast, which is so crazy, but it's so clear that Broncos fans are not going to have to worry about that. That this team is going to be in stable hands, in stable ownership, in stable leadership for decades.
Yeah, and sometimes we joke about it a little bit, but this is part of the reason why it is so important to have Patrick Smythe around. He knows all of this stuff so well. He's such a great pulse of what's important to Broncos fans and how people will react to X, Y, or Z. And I just know that when he met with these groups, he told them, all right, well, if you get this, it's going to be really important for it to be obvious and clear what the next group is, or else there's going to be a lot of civil unrest about it. And the other thing is, someone asked me last night, I really hope, even though it's out of the Bolin family, the Broncos remain really involved with the Alzheimer's Association. And I'm just like, again, Patrick Smythe isn't letting that happen. The Broncos will absolutely be involved with the Alzheimer's Association. There's not going to be any they're not going to take down the Pat Bolin statue or anything like that. It's PR, but it's also just important stuff. If they were to come in and clean house and not have someone like Patrick Smythe around, all this stuff would go. It's possible that there's not someone there to say, hold on, or someone there to say, hey, this is going to be really important to people, so make sure you are ready for this.
Mm-hmm. And he was a major part of this ownership process. Of course he was. And so, Ryan, we know that these two are going to be running it on a day-to-day basis, and that's also something that people really wanted to hear was what's going to happen? What type of role is this owner going to have? Is this owner going to live in California and for game days take his private jet in and out? Maybe Rob's doing that, but he's got 2 people that are eventually going to be the owners of this team that are going to actually have boots on the ground on a daily basis. And so I just think a lot of the issues that people were worried about are going to be relieved with how this ownership group is coming together.
And you said Greg Penner is the chairman of Walmart?
He is, yes.
Do we know what kind of commitment that is?
I don't, but maybe that's going to be Kerry Walton Penner's job now, is really the person in Denver.
Right. And that's exciting too. Mm-hmm. How old is she?
She's 51 years. No, 51.
Great. That's awesome.
Yep.
And we'll get to know these people. Right now, they're just names.
Yep.
But it'll be cool to kind of see what that looks like. And you're right. I mean, there you go. That's 30, 40 years that that's already taken care of moving forward.
Yep. And then also their kids, Rob Walton's grandchildren, also have some investment in the Broncos. So it's a 3-generation thing. And I know people really like the idea of the Broncos staying in the Bolin family, a family thing. Pat Bolin had run them well. The kids hopefully could run it well as well. Now we're seeing a family thing with the Walton family as well. It's obviously on a way different scale. Pat Bolin bought the team for $78 million 40 years ago. Sells it for $4.62 billion. Just a totally different scale, but it's still a family feel. At least that's what they want to try to make it feel like.
Yep. 78 million now would get you like a house and a half in Denver.
That's for real. Seriously. Rob Walton last week sold his Aspen property. It was 2 properties with no house on it for $30 million. I was thinking, why? That is so chump change for him, but maybe it's just to use that here.
Yeah, I didn't know about that. That's interesting. And we also know that they just bought a huge plot of land right here in Cherry Hills Village.
Yeah.
So maybe it was just a little swap.
Right, yeah.
Speaking of the family, every Bolin child getting over $500 million.
My goodness, that is absurd.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine. And I saw Mike Kliss last night say, like, the thing is, most of them would have rather just kept the team. I don't think so.
No. No.
Some of them, I think Brittany.
I was going to say, I know one that would have wanted to keep it. And I don't blame him either, though. I mean, you get, a lump sum of $300 million after taxes or something? That should last you the rest of your life and a very fun life.
Else's life
yes.
After you. Yeah, just a crazy, crazy amount. And the return on investment for that family is like nothing I've ever seen.
Yeah, Pat Bowlen did a great job buying the team.
Yep.
And his brother gets about $1 billion.
Yep. Crazy, man. Just crazy. And so it'll be interesting to see, like, will the Bolins still be involved at all? I'd love to see Brittany Bowlen hired by the Broncos or retained by the Broncos.
Yep.
Just because I think she's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But just $500 million. Wait, do we know, did the 8th child get a cut?
She had to have, right? I think she was forgotten by a lot of people even after she was revealed.
How could you forget that? It's like the best story of the whole thing.
And because wasn't that, didn't they find out that they had a sister when, like, the will?
Funeral.
Yeah. When they looked at the will. So if she's in the will, then yeah, she's getting a piece.
Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. that is just crazy.
So you find out you have a sister when you're between 20 and 30 years old. And then you find out that she's going to be taking $100 million away from you. You're like, I love you. I hate you.
Yeah, and I need a follow-up on that. Maybe even like a 30 for 30.
Yeah, seriously. I want to get the raw footage of them finding out they had a sister.
Yeah, that's so weird.
Ryan, one more thing about this is just let's take a step back. We can take a step back 2 years or even just a step back, June? 6 months ago. We were sitting here saying the Broncos may keep Vic Fangio. And then right after they fired Vic Fangio, we knew they were going to need a new head coach. We knew they were going to need a new quarterback. And we knew they were going to need a new owner because Joe Ellis had made that clear that it was going to happen this year. We said this was the most important offseason in the Denver Broncos history. And that wasn't trying to be like hyperbolic or crazy. No, when you need those things, especially the owner, it is that important. And when we look at it now, and you can't judge, excuse me, you can't judge a head coach. Oh, no.
Not again.
You can't judge a head coach until games are played. But so far, early returns on Nathaniel Hackett, really good.
Exciting, yeah.
You can judge Russell Wilson because he's played in the NFL for 10 years and absolutely dominated.
Yep.
What a home run hit. And Rob Walton, I think the money, we broke it down today. I think so far, initial reports, really, really good. So far, the Broncos have crushed their most important offseason.
Yeah. You went from, we talk about the 4 pillars. You had 1 of 4, and now you have 4 of 4.
Yep.
And the only question marks are, is Nathaniel Hackett a great coach? And is the Walton Penner group, or Walton Penner family, as invested in the Broncos' success as we want them to be?
Right.
That's going to take a while to figure out. And honestly, it might not even be until after the Russell Wilson era for us to really understand how into this team that family is. And the reason I say that is because the Broncos won a championship without an owner at all. Of course, in 2015, with Peyton Manning. And the point is, now that one wasn't all Peyton Manning, but the point is having a great quarterback can just cover up everything.
Yeah.
It can cover up how important ownership is. It can cover up how important offensive line play is. It can cover up your defensive deficiencies, coaching deficiencies, all of that stuff. So, in my opinion, Russell Wilson is going to carry the Broncos for a long time. I'll say 6 to 10 years. And during that time, everyone's going to look good. Nathaniel Hackett's going to look good. George Payton's going to look good. And the Waltons, who, by the way, are coming in at the perfect time, are going to look genius. Everyone's going to love them. And, the Broncos will have this new look, and they'll probably move into a new stadium, and they'll be hanging banners. And people are going to say this is amazing. It won't be until after that, when we have to go through the hunt again, and the team isn't being, all of their deficiencies aren't being covered up by a Hall of Famer, to where we might have to say, okay, well, it doesn't feel like they're as involved as we need them to be.
Yeah, and it's a really good point. And also, just like Nathaniel Hackett, it's going to be really hard for him to be a bad coach early on with Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I mean, he could make some bad calls. He can make some bad decisions late in games. He can misuse his timeouts, those sort of things. But more often than not, they're going to win. Mm-hmm. And that's all anyone really cares about.
And one thing that I really like, this is a very small thing, but in their statement about agreeing to buy the team, very first sentence, Ryan, we are thrilled to be selected to move forward with the purchase of the Denver Broncos with an exclamation mark. You never see that. I think there is true enthusiasm and excitement. And then they went on and said, having lived and worked in Colorado, we've always admired the Broncos. Our enthusiasm has only grown as we've learned more about the team, staff, and Broncos country after the last few months. I like that they're really buying into Denver, buying into Colorado, buying into the Broncos, because they have been around here before. They've owned properties here. They've lived here at parts in their life. And so it's not a massive connection. But remember, Pat Bowlen didn't live here his whole life. Once he got here, that's when he fully embraced Denver. And these are reasons of hope that they will. But you're right. We don't know that that's going to happen until it truly does.
Yeah, the one thing that I'm just supremely confident in is that the team will not be moved. And I wouldn't even bring it up if I haven't seen it in the comment section. I've seen people tweeting it. Mostly, I think, because of the Stan Kroenke connection. He moved the team out of St. Louis, so they could do it too. And it's just like, no, not really.
No.
The Colorado connection is big there. It's not as if this is just some group who's never even been to Colorado, who just threw a bunch of money at it and showed up and said, okay, well, we're taking it back to our hometown of Augusta, Maine. They have a lot of love and respect, at least from what we've heard, for Colorado. And also just there's no motivation to move the Denver Broncos out of Denver unless, again, you have some crazy external motivators. But the Broncos fan base, unmatched.
Yep.
The city, it's a Broncos city. All of the stuff. The market is plenty big enough. There's no reason to move it. And even pointing to like the Super Bowls and the Final Fours, Denver gets stuff like that. Not in this specific case because they haven't had the facility for it, but we've had tournament games, all that stuff. The Olympics wanted to come here at one point, but the point being, it's not as if you can't get those things in Denver. Denver will get those things if you build the facility.
100%. Absolutely, Ryan. And also, you're probably not buying $20 million plots of land in the city if you're just going to move the team.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they could probably do whatever they want, but they're not moving the team. So we can hold back on the hysteria over that.
And one more thing. How about this? John Elway has got to be so upset over these past 24 hours, thinking about the opportunity that he passed up. Elway was offered 36. What?
Well, you can finish, and then I'll offer the counter.
Elway was offered $36 million in exchange for 20% of the team about 20 years ago and turned it down. Had he taken that offer, he would have been getting $930 million now.
But he never would have been able to actually legally accept the offer because of the right of first refusal that Edgar Kaiser had at the time, and it actually held up back then because for whatever reason. So had John Elway agreed, there would have been a lawsuit, and I assume they would have lost, and it might have even actually, that percentage might have actually gone back to the Kaisers.
But he didn't even try.
Nope. Yeah.
He didn't give himself a chance.
But that's probably how he sleeps at night.
Yeah.
Knowing, I wouldn't have been able to get it anyway.
And he's John Elway, so hopefully that works too.
That should help him as well. All right, should we move our way towards the comments?
Absolutely, and got to give a shout out to the best pizza in town, Sexy Pizza, where Ryan, they're celebrating the Avs playoff run because they're a Colorado company. They know what's up in this community. They're giving you 15% off through June 12th, if not longer, by using the code DNVR AVS. So DNVR AVS. When you order pizza, you get 15% off your entire order of Sexy Pizza. Ryan, we've had it. It is fantastic. You're gonna want this weekend and during the playoffs too, during NHL finals. So get in on it. Check Sexy Pizza out and use that code DNVR AVS.
Yeah, I'm trying to stick to my diet, which I've done a pretty good job of, but every game during the Avs pregame show, Sexy Pizza brings a bunch of pizzas here for the Avs guys. And, of course, there's plenty more, and I just, see that beautiful, glistening grease on the top of the cheese and the delicious toppings, and I'm just like, oh, my God, this is torture.
If you can hold back from that, that is some serious, that's very
self-control.
Impressive. Yes, exactly.
I'm dialed in right now.
Yeah, you are.
All right, let's move on to the comments here. We do have one super chat to get started here from Max Power. Can we talk Melody Hobson? Stoked she's involved. Yeah, of course. We talked a little bit about it. Also, as I tweeted out last night, Nathaniel Hackett's got to be just beside himself knowing that Melody Hobson is married to George Lucas. I have to assume he's at some point going to get to meet him and talk with him and ask him all of his questions.
100%. You knew when Nathaniel Hackett was asked on Monday if he's met any of the ownership groups, and he said, yeah, he's met a couple. He was thinking about this one. Yeah, this is the meeting that he wants.
Yes. Well, and the question that I want to ask him is, who involved with the Broncos has your favorite significant other? Is it Russell Wilson or is it Melody Hobson?
I think it's got to be Melody.
Yeah, and again, we talked a lot about Melody in the first segment, so if you missed that, rewind after the show and catch that. Just an absolute, I said rock star, an icon, badass, whatever you want to say.
Everything.
Yeah, super awesome that she's involved.
Yep, 100. And she's going to have a big role since she was only one of 4 people mentioned in this group. All right, let's hop into the comment section over at thednvr.com. First one coming in from Denver Rival says, hey guys, I worded my question weirdly yesterday. I asked, if you could be the Broncos owner, what would you do? Do a lot of your ideas as an owner align with these ideas about Rob Walton's speculative plans? I mentioned some of these things that I do and decided to make DNVR the top media outlet. Let's go. I'm very grateful we did not go the route of Deshaun Watson as our quarterback. He hasn't started a full season since 2020, and despite his stats, he cannot elevate the Texans. The Browns added more dysfunction to their deeply dysfunctional franchise. It's going to make those at home with Baker Mayfield commercials really awkward. I gotta imagine they put a stop to those. Yeah. Russ acts like a dad. He's comfy and awkward. He's corny and awkward occasionally, but he gets the job done and can flip a switch once he's on the field. He's the right culture piece we need to bring back fun and elite football to the Mile High City. Go Broncos! Support DNVR rivals and the Alzheimer's Association efforts to get younger demographics aware and active in the fight to end Alzheimer's. And Ryan, speaking of that Russ corniness thing, we did some research yesterday, and we're going to be talking about that tomorrow because I think we've got a very interesting perspective on it.
Yes, definitely a new and interesting perspective. As for what I would do as an owner, 2 things. 1, keep the team in downtown. Mm-hmm. 2, he has to have enough money for a fully retractable roof to ease Henry's concerns about the retractable roof, where it's not really a retractable roof. It's more like a sunroof.
Right.
Give me the fully retractable roof that just slides. It's like a garage door.
Right.
Just slides completely off and into a little slot on one side of the stadium. And then you can have outdoor games when it's nice and indoor games when it's not. And then you can have all those events, but you don't lose the the beauty and atmosphere of Colorado.
What's so cool is the new stadiums are awesome. This one would top that by so much.
I know.
And I don't
crazy.
think there's one competing with it. I guess the Titans are going to build a new stadium, but I'll take Rob Walton over that.
How long have the Titans been around?
The Titans have had their stadium 2 years longer than Empower Field.
Okay. All right. Wow.
So
the Titans still feel really young to me.
Oh, yeah. They definitely do. They definitely do.
Oh, man. I can't wait for Nashville this year. Okay. Next one is from Fangio. Fangio says, stand by for my Avs comment. This season has been an avalanche for the teams in the NHL. You can't stop an avalanche. You can only try to get out of the way. This is the year. Love it.
Feels like it.
Also, it's just AVS. Capital AVS.
No apostrophes.
No apostrophes. No E in there. The A is capital, not the V.
See, I think you laughed at me and my sexy pizza read when I spelled out DNVR.
No,
I
laughed at the idea that you have to do that.
But I was trying to help the people out so they could get their 15% off.
I know, and like again, I'm not. It's just such a pet peeve for me. I'm sorry, I can't handle it.
So you can't handle that, but you embrace tacos with the apostrophe.
That's a joke.
Right.
It's a meme.
Right.
There's someone last night who was like trying to troll me by purposely spelling it wrong, and I was just like, all you're doing is making me dislike you.
All right. Don't worry, I've never done that to you before.
No, I'm like, this isn't doing anything for you. I just like you less every time you do that. Not for you, Fangio. This is just it's not your fault. Now you know.
Next one from Denver Rivals again says, one last thought. Do you think the Waltons would want to expand their potential Colorado empire and buy the Rockies from the Monforts several years after the Broncos purchase? Then they could build 2 mountain stadiums just to flex on all of us. Thanks again, go Avs, and let's ride.
First of all, no new stadium for Coors Field, or I'm
gonna
throw myself out of here.
No.
But please buy the Rockies.
Man, that's also, let's add a fourth thing to instantly be loved by Denver sports fans. Buy the Rockies and then dump money into them.
Yep. Oof. And just run them like a proper organization.
Man, and the Rockies have a lot of good things going for them in the past and in the future. If they were just given the proper ownership, it could be something really good.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
And then the entire state's major sports teams would be owned by Walmart money.
Just incredible. Just absolutely wild. Next one from Melbourne Broncos says, my boys, how awesome is it to have a new owner, new GM, new coach, new quarterback? All the pieces of the puzzle are there. I said it yesterday, and today I'll say it again. A dynasty awaits. I am super pumped. Let's go.
You know, I could see it. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to happen, but I just think the stability that this franchise is about to experience is something we really haven't seen in a long time. I mean, even at the very beginning of the Peyton Manning era, there was still a lot of question marks about the bowl and ownership and all that stuff. Like that, I'm sure it doesn't affect the play on the field that much, but it's just true. You know, I use that word pillars. Mm-hmm. True pillars. It's not something you've had since Bolin, Shanahan, Elway.
Wow. That's something else.
Yeah. And so, I mean, back-to-back Super Bowls is basically a dynasty.
Yep.
So you could see it.
Yeah, you could. And at least it's legitimate to finally say that they have a chance. You're not crazy for saying that.
Yep. And that money will not be an object.
Yeah, money will not be an object. Next one from Micah Pexa says, let's say Peyton Manning does become a minority owner with Walton. What then would be the roles and power of Walton, Peyton Manning, and George Payton? Where would Peyton fit, and how much say would he have?
It'll be interesting to see if Peyton even wants this. Is it enough for him to really move the needle? He's already making $25 million a year off of Omaha Productions. Yeah. So that's only growing. I'm sure we're not even that far away from that being a triple-digit $1 million venture for him.
Yep.
So there's that. But there's also, this is the one thing that I think he's expressed interest in is being an owner in a team the fact that he's not in on the original ledger
Yep.
is a little bit concerning for me. It tells me that they weren't able to really strike gold in terms of what it would look like from the start, or else he would have been involved in that because everyone would have been doing backflips.
And with Carrie and Greg both going to be running the show, is there going to be enough responsibility for Peyton Manning to become the president? Does he just want to be the president, or does he want to be even higher and actually have that ownership role next to him as well? That's just the one thing that I'm not sure this lends itself to 100%. But they could sign Peyton Manning up as an advisor, but then that wouldn't keep Peyton Manning here for the long term necessarily.
No, yeah, what I'm thinking is like a very small stake in the team. I'm talking less than 5%, and a fancy title that is essentially advisor.
And that ties him here forever?
I mean, the small chunk of ownership for sure would just make sure that he's always, a part of the Broncos. Obviously, he doesn't want to go anywhere.
Right.
So I think it would be a smart move, but I don't think you're going to see Peyton Manning in a suit walking the sidelines every Sunday. I think he'll probably still just like be up there in his box, hanging out with the kids, and maybe that's the best case scenario for Peyton. Like, John Elway aged rapidly.
Yes.
Once he took that role as GM, and obviously that's slightly different than what we're talking about, but Peyton has a lot to give, like, just to the league. He's maybe still the face of the NFL. Like, whenever he's on something, it pops like no one else except for maybe Tom Brady. And so it would be almost kind of weird for him to be a full-time suit for the Denver Broncos. I'd love for him to be, like you said, tethered to the Broncos with an ownership stake. But I think that he has a lot more to give to football fans.
I think so too.
Than just that.
Yep, I completely agree, and I hope we can all see that, and it'd be awesome with a bigger role with the Broncos. Just not sure how that fits in. Dan Burke says, "Hey guys, couple of things. One, I'm sure George Paton could sell new ownership on his vision for the team long term and earn their trust. But should we be worried about them wanting to bring in their own people in the front office, or what? Or will we have a relatively long leash?" I think this is a great question. This is something we simply don't know. I think it would be foolish to come in and move on from George Paton, Nathaniel Hackett, obviously probably not Russell Wilson, within a year or two. But that's something they could absolutely do, and that's just something we don't know.
Patrick Smythe effect again.
Yeah, but no, because this goes above Patrick Smythe. Because this new group, and Patrick, hope this doesn't happen, love you, but could wipe out everyone.
It won't. Yes, they could. What I'm saying is first of all, they won't. And like Patrick Smythe's not going anywhere. I'm confident in that. And if anything, he's just getting a larger role. Unless he wants to, of course. If this was been enough for him. But what I'm saying is he's the bridge, and I guarantee you he's telling them, dude, George Paton is killing it, and everyone loves him. So just keep that in mind. And I just don't think that this group would want to come in and have that reputation instantly. It's like, oh, they just came in with a wrecking ball and made it all about themselves.
It would be kind of like David Tepper, though. When he got to Carolina, he sat back for a year, made a big change, sat back another year, made another big change. I don't want to rule that out here, even though I think it would be the wrong thing to do. And I just hope they don't. That's just something we don't know. They may have their own people. They may have their own PR team. They may have their own president lined up. They may have their own football people in mind, too.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. I'm just saying I doubt it.
And I hope
as long as the team is successful.
Right, and that's going to be a big thing. Number 2, he says, "I know the Broncos weren't hurting for resources, especially when they were flying around the country on private jets to conduct the coaching search, but should we expect this new infusion of cash to positively impact the scouting department? The Broncos notoriously have one of the smaller front offices in the league, but should we expect them to bring in more scouts or send more scouts out now? Potentially, they have the resources for it." One thing I will say, Dan Burke, while they were flying private jets across the country earlier this year, they were flying chartered private jets. They weren't flying their own private jet.
They weren't having it wasn't the Bolin jet?
Nope, it was a different. It was just from a company, and so this is something where you're gonna have the Rob Walton private jet. You're gonna have the Kerry Penner private jet. You're gonna have the Greg Penner.
How many
private
private jets do you think they own?
Probably a lot, as many as they want.
Wow, that is insane. From C. Fillmore 72, gentlemen, greetings from the UK branch of Broncos Country. I have my Jaguars Broncos tickets in the bag. Let's ride. I plan on making a weekend of it in order to get in on anything that you guys plan from the run up to game day. Any firm decisions yet? Especially which part of London you might be using as a base. Really looking forward to meeting you and other members of the DNVR family in October. Christopher. Nothing in stone yet. It is coming up, but it is also June. We're still a small company. We've got a Stanley Cup final in town right now, so like, it's being worked on, but it's just not the main thing being worked on right now. We have some exciting things.
Leads?
Yeah, leads is almost like not enough because like we have roots in the ground.
Love it.
Just a little bit more time before they sprout.
I love it. I absolutely love it, and that's going to be such an awesome week. It's going to be so much fun.
Yeah, it's going to be out of this world, and it's going to be one of probably 3 traveling parties that we do this year.
Ooh, 3.
Yep.
I think I only know about 2. I can't wait to find out about a 3rd.
There you go. I'll tease it for you and tease it for them. And I think that's all we got for today.
Yep.
All right. Perfect timing on the show. Great job, everyone, in the comment section. I loved the conversation today. It's an exciting day in Broncos country. Hopefully, we'll look back on this day with great fondness.
Yes.
A long time from now.
Yep.
And only time will tell.
Yep. But it's very encouraging. And this offseason, the most important offseason in Broncos history, is pretty much now complete. And it's looking real damn good.
It is looking real good. All right, that's going to wrap it up for us today on the DNVR Broncos podcast. But, of course, we'll be back with you tomorrow. See you then.